Hey, it's me, Roman. And a couple of days ago I noticed something. While browsing through my collection of Game Boy games, they all had something in common. And it was the lettering on the side of the box art, spelling out Game Boy. I mean, you can find it on the cover of every game, from classics like Pokemon to more obscure stuff like R-Type. And from there on, I was hooked. I went down the rabbit hole to find out more about this font as well as its creator. Our story starts in 1926 with these two guys. When Eric Gill got contracted by Morrison, a British typographer and influential Monotype executive, which is a company that back in the day specialized in the design of typefaces for the Monotype system, which is this thing, and it's used for punching out metal for use in the printing press. But nowadays, this technique is barely used. Anyways, with its release in 1928, both hoped that this new font would be their main competitor against the wave of German sans serif fonts like Cable, Urba and Futura, which were getting huge traction in Germany with its geometric style. It was an immediate success because the year after its release, their LNER, short for London and Northeastern Railway, chose it for all their materials like posters and timetables. And later, when the railway companies were nationalized in 1948, it formed the base for its standard lettering. Another prominent use for the font were the simple yet stylish covers for the so-called penguin books, so it became one of the most dominant typefaces in British printing, following its inception. And even now, it's still very popular, which is one of the reasons why people often call it the British Helvetica, because of its lasting popularity, especially in British design. It also influenced many other typefaces and brought sans serifs to the masses. Gill Sans features classical proportions that originate from monumental Roman capitals in the uppercase letters, while varying in width. Nevertheless, Gill Sans still applies some geometrical principles like the J dropping below the baseline, or the O being nearly a perfect circle, as well as the M basing its proportions of a square and the middle stroke meeting in the center. Furthermore, there is a heavy traditional serif influence noticeable by the prominent two-story lowercase a and g design. But there are outliers, especially in its cursive font, also called italic. Most of the time the letters are just slightly slanted, but not with Gill Sans. The clearest evidence for that is the letter A, which becomes a single story design like you would find in handwriting for example, as well as the letter P, which has a calligraphic tail on the left. But that's enough theoretical chit-chatter. Now let's look at some prominent use cases for the font. As I mentioned before, the font hit the ground running as far as its popularity was concerned, because of its dominant use in England, especially with its use as a standard typeface for the LNER, for example on nameplates of locomotives or on the aforementioned promotional material. But another prominent British institution that adopted the font was the BBC in 1997, as seen for example in its logo. The reason for this decision was that they wanted to have a font that had and would stand the test of time. Until they decided they needed something more coherent with mobile devices and started phasing it out around 2017. Other non-British use cases are the Benetton Group, that even commissioned a custom variant of the font for their logo as well as their race cars, as well as the clothing brand Tommy Hilfiger. But from my point of view, the most prolific use case, at least for a lot of 90s kids, are all the Game Boy boxes that I mentioned in the introduction. And now that we have come full circle, I hope you liked this simple overview about a topic I honestly wouldn't have thought would be that interesting. But it turned out to be quite fun to find out more about how fonts in general are structured and how widespread their use is.